How does a city with over 15 million people get something as basic as water when the supply is completely unpredictable? Well, today we're diving into how a single student project, the Karachi WaterFlow Tracker, is using some pretty accessible code to try and solve that exact problem.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? Kind of audacious, even. Can one student's coding project really make a dent in a crisis that affects millions of people every day? Let's find out. Okay, so before we can even appreciate the solution, we have to really understand the problem. In Karachi, a massive city, water isn't something you just get when you turn on the faucet. For so many, it's a daily source of stress and just total uncertainty. Seriously, just try to imagine not knowing what day or even what week water is going to come to your home. That's the reality. People have to plan their entire lives, cooking, cleaning, everything, around a schedule that is totally inconsistent and often not even announced. And okay, let's say the water does finally show up. The problems don't stop there. Is the pressure going to be strong enough to actually fill the storage tank on your roof? Or is it just going to be a useless trickle? And maybe even worse, is the water clean? Is it safe to use or is it dirty? These are constant nagging worries. So what happens if the water is dirty or it just never comes? Well, your complaints pretty much just vanish into thin air. Without any kind of formal system to report these things, there's no tracking, there's no accountability, and people are just left feeling completely powerless. So, in the face of this massive, everyday challenge, a student from the Governor Sind initiative decided, you know what? I'm going to build something. And this is it, the WaterFlow Tracker, a really smart command line application designed to bring a little bit of order to all that chaos. Now, this project is a fantastic example of something called civic tech. And the idea here is really simple, but honestly, so powerful. It's all about using technology not just to make a profit or for entertainment, but to directly solve community problems and actually make people's lives better. Now, what I think is super interesting here is that this wasn't built with some crazy, expensive, secret technology. It's made with tools that are open and accessible to pretty much anyone. You've got Python, which is kind of like the brains of the operation, writing all the logic. Questionary and Rich are used to create a really clean and easy to use interface. SQL is basically the project's memory, storing all the important data. And they even integrated Google's Gemini to provide some intelligent help. This is a toolkit anyone could learn. All right, so what does this app actually do for someone? Well, its first job, and maybe the most important one, is just delivering clear, reliable information right to your fingertips. And the process? It's incredibly simple. You just pick your area, let's say Gulshan, and boom, the app immediately tells you the schedule, like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. It even gives you the expected pressure and calculates the exact date and time for the next supply. Just simple, actionable information. And this slide just nails the difference this makes in someone's life. You're going from this state of constant, anxious waiting and just guessing to actually being able to plan your week. You go from scrambling to react to being prepared. That is genuine empowerment right there. Okay, but the app doesn't stop there. It's not just about schedules. It also tackles that awful feeling of being ignored by building a really solid system for handling complaints. And this is where things get really smart. Instead of just giving you a blank box to type in a vague complaint, the app actually makes you categorize the problem. Is there no water at all? Is the pressure too low? Is it late? By having you choose, every single complaint gets turned from just a personal story into a structured, analyzable piece of data. And look at what that creates. Every single complaint gets logged, it gets an ID, a timestamp, and a status, from pending all the way to resolved, that gets tracked. All of a sudden, your problem isn't invisible anymore. It's in the system. Okay, and this is where the project goes from being helpful for one person to potentially changing the whole system. Because one person logging an issue is useful for them. But thousands of people logging issues? Well, that creates a data set that can drive real citywide change. So you've got all this data. What can you actually learn from it? Well, a lot. You can start seeing patterns. You can go from fixing one person's problem to understanding the problems of the entire city. You can create insights just like this. A chart like this could instantly show city officials that, hey, the defense area has a major chronic low pressure issue, while over in Sadar, the biggest problem is actually water quality. This lets them target their repairs and investments based on actual data, not just guesswork.
And you can start tracking how well you're doing. A number, like an issue resolution rate, creates real accountability. You can actually measure, month by month, if the system is getting better at solving the problems people report. This number becomes a direct measure of how effective the whole thing is. When you get right down to it, the WaterFlow tracker is so much more than just an app. It's a model for a new way of solving problems, one that's driven from the ground up by the very people who are dealing with the issue every single day. And I just love this quote from the project's own documentation. It says it all, really. This might have started as a portfolio project for a student to show off their skills, but its goal is aimed right at a huge, tangible, real-world problem. And this path, it's just such a powerful blueprint, isn't it? It all starts with one person seeing a need in their own community. They use tools that are available to everyone to build a solution. That solution then lets the entire community contribute tiny pieces of data, which all add up to create these massive insights that can lead to real change. It's a blueprint anyone could follow. And that really leaves us with one final thought. This project shows what's possible when just one person decides to use their skills to fix something they see every single day. So it makes you wonder, right? What problem in your community is just waiting for someone to build its solution?